Right, okay, I think we've settled down a little bit. So yeah, good morning and welcome to the February edition of our monthly campus update webinar. Just to let you know who we all are, my name's Davies. I'm the sales manager here at Pugh. Joining me is Eifion Evans, who's our technical manager. And we're also joined remotely by Tom Cripps from Microsoft. Hi Tom, you all right?
Hey folks, yeah, very well, thank you.
So as for the agenda today, I'll be talking first about the forthcoming Microsoft price alignment, which you've probably all heard a little bit about. After me, Eifion will be speaking about some developments in Intune licensing, which will lead nicely on to Tom, who'll be talking about the Microsoft Surface device with reference to the deployment management and the security of that device. Hopefully we should have a little bit of time at the end for a Q&A session as well. As usual, the session is being recorded and that recording will be available to you after we've finished. It'll also be on our YouTube channel, along with all the other webinars that we've done, so you can refer back to them as you need to. Just finally, before we start, looking forward to next month, we're going to be joined by Sophos. We'll be joined by John Hope, who is going to be covering their Managed Detection and Response Service, MDR. It's their 24/7 managed service, which can detect and respond to cyber attacks across your whole environment. It's vendor agnostic, so it can work proactively with your existing technology. We'll include a link to that webinar in the follow-up email, but it's available on our website to register as well. So we'll jump into the Microsoft price alignment, which is due on the 1st of April this year. Just to give you a bit of background to this, it's Microsoft are taking steps to align pricing globally, so that they align more closely with the US dollar price based on the various exchange rates around the world. Moving forward, Microsoft are going to be doing this price alignment on a 6-monthly basis, which means that prices could come down as well as go up. But in this particular instance, on the 1st of April, we are expecting a 9% increase on the sterling price list. Now, we have seen sort of 11%, 15% in some European currencies, so it could have been worse, but still. There's still a little bit of uncertainty on whether this is going to affect all items on the price list or whether it's going to be just the licenses that Microsoft term cloud licenses, your A5 licenses, A3 licenses, that sort of thing. But either way, the majority of part numbers are going to see an increase from the 1st of April. In terms of how this is going to affect your agreements and your pricing, well, that depends on a few things. If you're in an EES or an OVS agreement, then the changes won't come into effect until your renewal date. On top of that, if you're in a 3-year agreement, then as usual, you'll get the price protection for the 2nd and 3rd year anniversaries of those agreements. A little bit more complex for CSP licensing. If you're in an annual commit, then again, those prices will be guaranteed for you until your anniversary date, whether you're paying annually or monthly. It's just those monthly commits and monthly payments that you're going to see a price increase sooner. Whichever scenario applies to you, the best thing to do, as always, is to talk to your account manager. They'll be able to give you a full picture of what's happening. And once we do have the full picture of whether this is going to affect all licenses or just cloud licenses, we'll convey that to you as well. And obviously, once Microsoft start aligning these prices every 6 months, we'll be in contact as soon as we know more from Microsoft. So that's it for the price alignment. And with that, I'll hand over to Eifion.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Just let me get a couple of slides up, not too many, you'll be glad to hear. Right. So this month I want to cover a couple of new licenses that have been added to your EES agreement. They're on the March price list, so if any of you are interested, we can now get you these products. The first one is vulnerability management. Now, vulnerability management is a set of tools that helps you increase the visibility and manage vulnerabilities on your network so that you can secure down your network as much as possible. It's included already in Defender for Endpoint P2. It's included in the A5 license, and it's included in the A5 security add-on. So if you've got any of those, you already have vulnerability management. Well, what Microsoft have done is they've added some premium functionality to the standard vulnerability management product. So they will be add-on part numbers that you can add on top. So any products that are currently in general availability will remain in the tools, but any products that were in preview are added in the new add-on part number. Functionality like your baseline assessments, in application inventories, and the ability to block vulnerable applications are all in the add-on product. Okay. So if any of you want more information on it, contact your account managers, but there's a link there with details of what you currently have and what's in the new part number, and Mark will hopefully add that to the chat window for you now. Okay, so that's the vulnerability management add-on. Some or most of you will already have vulnerability management, but there's more functionality available in the premium add-ons. Okay, Intune. As Aled said, we're going to be talking about this. Unfortunately, we don't have too much info, even though it's in the March price list. We don't have too much information at the moment as to what's going to be in there. So this slide here is from the link, which is a blog Microsoft put out at the end of last year. We don't have, even though it's in the March price list, we don't have up-to-date information as to what's going to be in the product for now. But we're pretty sure that remote help is going to be in there. And as the name suggests, that helps you if you're in a tech support role, for instance, to be able to sort out your students' issues, very similar to TeamViewer. So that's something that a lot of people have been asking for already. And that's in the Intune add-on. Now, there's two add-ons. The first one is the Intune Suite, and that's going to be the premium add-on functionality. Some of the applications you can see here. Because we don't have full information at the moment, we don't know what's going to be in the suite, but we're pretty sure that remote help is going to be in there. Also on the price list is Intune P2. Now, this is something we have no information on at all. So we don't know what's going to be included. But more importantly for you probably is how it's going to fit into the licensing suite. Is it going to be part of A5, for instance? We have no information on that at all. So if you're interested, get in touch with your account managers, and then as soon as we get that information, we'll relay it on to you. So there's two Intune part numbers going to be on there, but excuse me, but more information to follow. Okay, that's me. So Tom, if you oh, sorry, if you take control.
No problem at all. Thank you very much. I'm just loading the presentation now. Hopefully that should start coming through. There we go. Just double checking. Can you see the content that's been made available?
Yeah, that's showing now. Perfect.
Perfect. Amazing stuff. Thank you very much. So lovely to meet you all. As the guy says, my name is Tom Cripps. I am a Microsoft Partner Development Manager. I'm aligned to support Pugh, and I'm specifically aligned to education in the Surface business. What I wanted to do today was just to take a little bit of time you know, when you're looking at Surface as a product, there's so many different routes and avenues that we can go down. But what I wanted to do is today is to really go down the management of the Surface devices, the deployment of the devices, and also a little bit of the security around the devices. And hopefully that's something that will be of interest to all of you. So just to kind of set the scene a little bit on this. Obviously, there's some core, you know, some really large topics that we've got there. And I think when we talk to IT leaders from around the world and businesses of all shapes and sizes and education institutes and organizations, we come up with some common themes when it comes to device deployment and manageability. And they're the things that just come up on the screen here. So it's a lot to do with how we obviously keep customers safe and secure. How do we remove any organizational complexity and make it as easy as possible to ultimately do to business and to get access to all the applications that we want to have access to drive our productivity? How do we look to be more strategic with like a single vendor approach? There's loads of tools, and again that adds to the complexity, and we want to ultimately understand how we can make our end users happy and how we can do more with less, and all of these common themes that I'm sure that you come up with on a kind of day-to-day basis. So the way that we think about it from Microsoft is we think about pairing Surface devices, which are obviously built by Microsoft, with the M365 licenses, which are all tried and tested, and all the software is aligned specifically with Surface and tested with Surface in mind. Just to try and simplify everything in order to give you, the ability to go ahead and ultimately to, get on with your day-to-day work, right? Take away any of that burden. So as I said, what I'm trying to do here, or what I want to talk about is the deployment of the devices. Then once those devices are deployed, like how do we think about the management of those devices? And then really, like, what does that look like from a security aspect? And why would you perhaps use Surface and M365 to kind of take this approach? Sorry, excuse me, I'm just having a couple of issues trying to move the slides here. So yeah, I think like you're all probably aware of Autopilot. Autopilot is now a technology which has been around since 2018, and really when it comes to M365 and modern management, Autopilot is the cornerstone to allowing and enabling that. So ultimately, what we're looking to do is we deploy our devices using Intune and Autopilot. Intune is obviously the product that we use. Autopilot is a term for the technology that we use. With Surface in particular, one of the key benefits is that you can deregister and return devices using Autopilot. That's one of the key differentiators that we have over some of our OEM competitors. You can decide as to whether you as a customer deploy your own devices, or whether you work closely with a partner such as Pugh, who will be able to help you with the configuration and the device management. And you can even enable things like white glove experience, where Pugh could support you in that your devices would ship directly from distribution, land with your users, and ultimately your users could open their PC and pull down all their credentials out of the cloud. And get access to all of their the various technology as soon as possible, in order to get them up and running and obviously productive as soon as they can. Let me talk a little. Yeah, so basically we ran a study. It was called the Total Economic Impact Study a few years back, when we sat down with some business leaders to understand what it was that ultimately that they needed, and we found that there was a number of kind of key themes that came up right around the deployment of the devices, and what we found from those studies. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of issue with my slides and my notes at the moment. Can you just bear with me for 2 seconds, just while I manipulate this? Apologies. Second, guys. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, fine. Sorry. So, yeah, with regards to the study that I was talking about that Forrester delivered, which was the TIE studies, they showed that with Surface, IT users could save 2.5 hours per their application, with the provisioning and requests of over 25 minutes for configuration on each device, which really streamlines the experience, obviously using Windows 10, Surface, and Enterprise Mobility and Security to really make that come to life. And as it shows here on the slide, 75% of those people within the study agreed that the IT time could be, saved using Surface devices versus non-Surface devices. As I said before, I wanted to talk a little bit about the management of the devices once they've been deployed. So really, we want to give commercial organisations the freedom to work from anywhere whilst retaining control of those devices, and streamlining, obviously, the management of that ultimately through the device management portal. Now, with Surface, we do actually have a specific device portal, which can be leveraged, and it's called the Surface Management Portal. And what that does is that gives customers a single pane of glass where you can see the health of your devices, what devices have been deployed within your estate, and ultimately it gives you like a single place where you can go through to manage those. Obviously, through Intune, we have ultimately again, you can manage multiple devices which are outside of the Surface estate. But when you think about other OEMs and the competitors, so if you had a multi-estate, obviously you can manage that all through Intune, but then you've got various different places and portals and individual places where you'd have to go in order to, one, check the health of those devices, but also when it comes to things such as your let's say your warranties, for example. With the Surface Management Portal, you can jump in there and you can get real clear access to what that looks like across the board. Right, from a security standpoint. So with Surface, we often talk about the chip to cloud security aspect when it comes to obviously the protection of your devices, and we want to give customers peace of mind that you're always up to date and secure when it comes to your device. So pulled out some of the key points that you can see on the slide there as to kind of like what we're looking to do from Microsoft with the security aspect. But really what I wanted to do is to kind of call out some of these kind of key features across the the operating system, the firmware, and then of course the hardware. So when it comes to any of this, it really starts with the hardware in mind and understanding, like, has someone ultimately tampered with that device? And if that's the case, then the firmware or the BIO can ultimately access all of the cloud tools that can help you protect that endpoint from any of the vulnerabilities that could come. So that's what we mean when we talk about the chip to cloud to security. I think with Surface devices and Microsoft, what we have to consider is that obviously we build our own devices, we build our own applications, operating system, the firmware, and all the technology that comes with that. So ultimately, we have control of that device and the security across that device more than we would suggest our OEM competitors, albeit we work closely with all of the OEMs, obviously, to make sure that all of the key features are still available and security is top of mind. I think one of the key things that we've got as a differentiator is that we have our own UEFI. And with the UEFI, we can ultimately shut down certain components of the device through using DFCI within Intune. So, for example, if you wanted to shut down any hardware components within that device, such as the camera, you can do that at a firmware level, and it can be trusted that obviously that's secure. And then, yeah, that's that. And then obviously just to dive into that a little bit more, because we do own our own UFI and we have built our own UFI, we're in a unique position to respond to security threats and push updates seamlessly through Windows Updater. Ultimately, what the UFI does is it gives IT admins more control over the firmware. And you can, as I said, you can enable and disable certain parts, which is kind of key. So ultimately, it gives you the most flexibility and the most control that you can have over that device. There are certain devices within the Surface family, just as a disclaimer, that don't have that. So some of the older devices in particular, and some of the lower end devices, such as like the Surface Go 3, sorry, no, the Surface Go 2 doesn't. However, for the newer devices across the family, you have that level of control with DFCI and the UFI. So really, when we're thinking about deployment, management, and security across the devices, it's all of these three pillars that come together with the device as the center point in your single pane of glass. And that's kind of how we like to think about it at Microsoft ultimately. Now, I didn't want to sit here and as I said, to go through all of like the speeds and fees of our different devices, but I did want to just highlight to you guys the Surface portfolio. So we kind of break this down into our 2-in-1 category, where we've got the Surface Go 3, which is our 10-inch device, which is ultimately like I'd say an iPad compete, let's say, which comes in an LTE version as well, so that you can be connected at any time. We've got the Surface Pro 7 Plus, which is still very prevalent in education. That device, when we look at like the kind of backwards compatibility across that device, that goes back to the same format as the Surface Pro 4 when that was released. So in order to give customers business kind of continuity with regards to all of their accessories and type covers, etc., we've kept the Surface Pro 7 Plus live for the time being. But we're now, in terms of we're now on the iteration of the Surface Pro 9, which supersedes the Surface Pro 8. And as we move forward after this summer, the Surface Pro 9 form factor, which changed from the Surface Pro 7 in that it had smaller bezels, that's going to be the device that we're going to have after this summer moving forward. So if you do have, Surface Pro 7s in your estate, then we'd need to think about kind of how we move away from that potentially. We've then got our laptops, which we had customer feedback, which was around, we don't like the 2-in-1 form factor. It's good, obviously, we're on the go, but obviously we've got users who are desk-based users and they prefer their laptop format. So we launched our laptop range about 4 or 5 years ago now. And so just to bring that to life, we've got a Surface Go 2, which is a slightly smaller device, which is a 12.4-inch device, which is kind of like a laptop Go 2, which is like a mid-range device. We've got our laptop 5, and then our kind of most powerful iteration of our device is the Surface Laptop Studio. That's our new, essentially it's taken over from the Surface Book, which is ultimately about, it's for kind of like more for developers and people that need high performance and perhaps dedicated graphics, because that's in that device. And then we've got our large screens and what we call foldable. So a Surface Duo 2, which is ultimately a phone, but a productivity device that can do loads. We've got our Studio 2 Plus is the latest iteration of the desk-based device. And then for the ultimate collaboration device, we have the Surface Hub 2S. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of the family, because some of you might not be familiar with that. And if there's anything else that we can do to support or to have some conversations with you, I'd like to bring in some of our more technical specialists can support with any questions that you have across the board. So yeah, that's kind of it from an update perspective from my side. As I said, for any kind of like more in-depth questions, I've got technical advisors that we can leverage and we can bring into support. And yeah, open up to any questions if you have anything that we can go through.
Great. Thanks very much, Tom. Really good. Really enjoyed that. Mark, I know you've been keeping an eye on the questions coming in. Anything that you want to flag up?
There's nothing coming yet, but if anyone does want to send them through, you're more than welcome. But I've got a couple just to kick things off. So a question we're often asked is, I know you've mentioned quite a few benefits there, but what is that sort of silver bullet or one thing that you think would make Surface stand out against other OEMs?
Yeah, sure. Do you know what? So I get asked this a lot in my role, and I think it's hard to answer in that there isn't necessarily one specific thing with Surface that makes it unique over other OEM counterparts. I think what you have to do is you have to take the different the different pieces of the value proposition and bring them all together. So there we were talking around like chip to cloud security, the UFI, and then obviously the remote management of the device through the Surface Management Portal. Like that's what I'd call almost like one pillar, and then obviously the security piece all fits around that. We also think about the thoughtful design of our products. So Surface is ultimately premium, so the quality and the craftsmanship. Accessibility by design is something that we bake into all of our products at Microsoft. So obviously giving access to anyone to be able to use our devices. And then there's a sustainability lens across everything that we do at Microsoft as well, which I know is another core thing. So I'd say, yeah, industry leading security, thoughtful by design. All of our products are versatile and adaptable. So we want to give users the ability to work however they want. That's another kind of core pillar. So I would say, as I was going through the portfolio there, the reason that we've got all of those different devices now is because we want everyone to have the experience that they want through the device. So some of the devices, or most of the devices, support like inking, for example. Some people really like inking, some people don't. Some people want to have that tablet form factor, some people don't. So when we think about the design of the products, it's to be able to give everyone access. And then the final pillar, so we've got thoughtful by design, security, versatile and adaptable, and the final pillar is really around the high performance productivity. So thinking about how all of the suites and applications of Microsoft come to life through cloud computing on that Surface device, basically. So they're built hand in hand. That's kind of that. Each of those different pillars, there's like in-depth information that we can kind of deliver to you and go into and really drill into, but that's kind of it at a high level, I'd suggest. So in answer, to summarize, not one silver bullet, it's a combination of all of those different things which make a premium device and give people the ability to work how they want to is kind of the core value proposition we're trying to bring out with Surface.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry,
I mean, that covers something which is more and more important these days, which is inclusivity. So that's great to hear that you do make it accessible to everyone then.
I think sorry to cut in. I think inclusivity is obviously so important, and I think when it comes down to all of the tools that are available through, it's really Windows 11 tools and M365 tools that are baked into like the productivity software. So baked into Teams, for example, things like, if I put it into a school context, we're thinking things like immersive reader or colorblind assist, or within Teams, like assignments can be set, homework can be done offline in those capability, offline capability. There's all these different things that are baked in. I wouldn't say they're Surface specific, but the thing that is Surface specific is that the device is premium. It's got the best quality cameras. It's got the best quality speakers, and those, and obviously it's given flexibility for users. So it's inclusive in itself, in that people can work using the Surface device in the way that they choose to.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Just another sort of important topic at the moment is sustainability. So especially when it comes to devices. So could you give a view on Surface's approach to sustainability?
Yeah, sure. So obviously sustainability again is another hot topic. I was only a couple of weeks ago, I was sat in a meeting where it wasn't mentioned, and then we broached the subject just before the lunch break, and the customer was like, yeah, really interested to understand how we can compare Surface devices with others with their approach. And we're able to access tools that we have, like Surface sustainability calculators, where we can go in and really talk about like electricity usage on the device, and how we can talk about like the carbon footprint across those devices, and we can get some like get into real granular levels across those things. But sorry, just touching on a few of those things, I think Windows and Surface in particular are committed across kind of 3 pillars. We like to work in pillars at Microsoft, as you probably know. One of them is around reducing the carbon footprint. The other is around circular by design, and the other is around kind of integrity built in and transparency around what we're doing as an organization. So yeah, we can delve into those different things, but when we're thinking about like the carbon footprint, we're thinking about it from all the way from the manufacture of the devices and how the components for each of those devices is sourced, all the way through the supply chain team focusing around how we use renewable energy throughout that, all the way to the point where that device is then obviously, once it's out of commission, like how do we then like recycle that device and what can be used around that? So that's kind of we're thinking about across the whole journey of that. Yeah, do you know what? I could actually talk for ages. I appreciate we're at time, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean that was perfect. That sort of covers a lot of it. So thank you very much for that. If anyone has got any other questions, you're welcome to ask them quickly. I know we are sort of at the end of the half hour, but or I mean, the same goes if you have any questions that you think of after the webinar, just get in touch. Yeah, there's nothing at the moment, so I guess back over to you, Aled and Eifion, just to close.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, great. I think we'll leave it there because we are just over the half hour. Want to give people their time back wherever possible. I think the main takeaway from today is, with the price alignment and those new licensing announcements that Eifion mentioned, just do keep in touch with your account manager. As and when the information becomes more readily available, we'll be sharing those with you anyway. As I also mentioned, you will be getting a link to a copy of the recording, so feel free to pass it on to your colleagues. And similarly, if you do think the next month's webinar about Sophos MDR is going to be of interest to you or any of your colleagues, again, please do pass it on to them and get yourselves registered ASAP. So with that, thank you very much for your time this morning, and we'll hopefully see you all next month. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.